Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone and welcome to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode we are talking about life coach marketing. Now, you could be a life coach and you could be listening to this for tips and tricks, or you could just be an observer of that occupation, of the social media journey that life coaches have taken over the past year, and you could be wondering, how can I use those strategies to benefit my business, my marketing, so that I can sort of get similar results or have similar following or gain the same amount of attention as some of these really big named life coaches. And now when I say life coaches, what I really mean by that are your Rachel Hollis's, Jenna Kutcher, tons of people like that who are promoting a way to live your life, to be the happiest you can be, to be the most productive you can be, and they're sort of benefiting off of giving you advice that hopefully you take or maybe you don't. They sell you products, they host courses, they host conferences. Even now, I was reading today that Rachel Hollis is hosting a marathon run, for you can come run a marathon with her. So they really are just trying to help you live your best life, and I'm all for it. If that's something that works for you, if you like listening to their books, if you like their audiobooks, obviously, if you like listening to their podcasts, then this is absolutely something you should invest your time in. But if this is something that doesn't appeal to you, then you can still learn something from these life coaches, because they have learned how to gain a following through social media and build their business online. Rachel Hollis didn't even have a college degree, guys. She literally just used the internet to build this, what is now a multi-million-dollar company. I'm not sure if it's multi-million dollars yet. We're going to look into it on today's podcast, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So right before we get into everything else, I would just like to ask everybody, please and thank you, please subscribe to this podcast. It means so much to me. I love recording it. I love getting to talk to you guys on social media. So make sure you go follow us over there as well. It would just mean a whole hell of a lot to me. So thank you. Alright, so let's get right into today's episode. We are going to start by talking about some of the top stories in the marketing world. Our first story is that Walmart's new membership program may pose a threat to Amazon Prime. The company will introduce this new membership program as early as March. Obviously not yet. Today's March 5th as I'm recording this podcast. Probably March 6th when you're listening to it. So it hasn't been open yet, but we're expecting to see it open any day now. Walmart plans to differentiate the membership model by including certain perks that Amazon can't offer. The model is called Walmart Plus. A spokesperson confirmed that this is in a public testing of the paid membership model, and it may start in March, and is widely believed to replace Walmart's Delivery Unlimited service. I find it very interesting that it's called Walmart Plus. Did that go through anyone else's mind? Were you guys oh wait, hold up, do you mean Disney Plus? No. Walmart Plus. A very interesting choice, Walmart. I see what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Building grocery delivery into Walmart Plus, along with the additional offers, will pull some consumers away from Amazon Prime who are not able to offer groceries that are as fresh or as cheap as Walmart. So people are very excited about this Walmart Plus membership. It is definitely going to make shopping a whole lot more convenient, a whole lot cheaper if you want to do it online, but it is definitely going to take business away from Amazon Prime. So let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media which side you will be choosing. This almost feels very Netflix versus Disney Plus. I don't want to call this a full battle yet, but I definitely think it's going to come to that. So reach out through social media and let me know who you think is going to win this standoff. Our second story of today is that ABC announced that Claire Crawley will be the new Bachelorette, making her the oldest Bachelorette in Bachelor and Bachelorette history. The new Bachelorette, Claire Crawley, will be making history when she begins her season of The Bachelorette. She is going to be the oldest in the franchise history. Claire is currently 38 years old and about to turn 39, which puts her almost 7 years ahead of the previous old lead. Claire was on The Bachelor 6 years ago. She then appeared in Bachelor in Paradise twice and Bachelor at the Winter Games, where she actually got proposed to. Sadly, the engagement didn't work out, which is why she is our new Bachelorette. A lot of people recognize Claire because when she made her first appearance in 2014, she came down to one of the final two, ending the relationship by saying that she had lost respect for him. It was a very dramatic moment in Bachelor history. A lot of people remember that. So what's very interesting about this story, one, from like a fan of The Bachelor perspective, way to go for having the oldest Bachelorette in history be your new Bachelorette. That's amazing. It is shocking that she's only 38 and people keep calling her old, because absolutely she is not. But it's really great for them from a marketing perspective because now they can advertise that fact and they can really lean into that. Every Bachelor and Bachelorette has a hook. And I think that this season, with the people they had currently running, there just was no hook. There was no big drama thing happening that they would be able to carry into a new season. Claire Crawley has like 6 years of drama following her in the Bachelor world, so a lot of people will be tuning in. Perhaps people who haven't seen the show since she left 6 years ago. This is sort of an ending to a story that they thought they had already finished when she competed in the Bachelor Winter Games. So I'll definitely be tuning in. I don't watch The Bachelor a lot, but I want to tune in just to see how they market her age, how they market her experience, and how this will be different from any other season. Our third story, you guys, made me so incredibly happy. And if anyone out there is listening wants to hang out with me on December 11th in New Jersey, then let me know, because Hallmark is bringing back Christmas Con. Guys, I am so excited. So we all know that the Hallmark Channel is known for its Christmas movies, so they have decided to cash in on this buzz that is always around them over the holiday season by building a weekend around the stars of their holiday movies and specials. Some of the stars last year's were Melissa Joan Hart, Danica McKellar, and Jack Wagner. So really big stars, especially for the Hallmark Channel. And after a successful year last year at Christmas Con, they have decided to do it again in New Jersey at the New Jersey Convention and Expo Center in Edison. The convention is scheduled for December 11th, 12th, and 13th. The reason I am so pumped about this, the reason I am so energetic about this, is because, one, I flippin' love Hallmark movies, especially ones with Melissa Joan Hart in them. I'm a sucker for her. I don't know what to say, guys. I love the movies, I love the plots, I love all of it. But the second reason I'm so excited for this is a really great marketing tool, and it's one that we've talked about before, of hosting events and sort of profiting from like expanding your business, and this is a really great example of, clearly they saw there was an audience there who really loved their movies and really loved the stars and the relationships with those stars. So they clearly thought, okay, I wonder if that audience cares enough to travel all the way to New Jersey to pay money to go to a convention to meet the stars and to interact in a sort of Comic-Con way. And they had it. They had the audience. The audience was willing to do that. The only thing that I hope is that it eventually travels across the U.S. or maybe even into Canada, because I would absolutely love to go with it. I just don't want to go to New Jersey. No offense to anybody who is from New Jersey who listens to this podcast. I love you all the same. But I just don't want to go to New Jersey for Hallmark Comic-Con. But I would definitely go if it was in Vancouver. So Hallmark, I'm just saying, maybe think about moving cities every now and then. Maybe we should do a lot of different states. Hit me up. I'll think about it. I'll help you plan it. I just think this is a really great marketing tool, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of it. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about some stats and facts of health and life coaches on social media. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again and again, black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and today's episode is all about life coaches. I want to make it super clear. You do not have to be a life coach. You do not have to be a health coach. You do not have to be involved with the world at all to get something from this podcast. I am going to be talking about their strategies, their marketing tools, all the good stuff that you can totally use in your small business, if you're the CMO at a big company, or if you're just trying to start out and you just want to build a social media following. Social media is really these people's lives. It is what they're good at. It is how they build their business. So they can absolutely help you get into the right direction. So if you're interested in any of that, then get a pen and paper out, start taking notes, because I got some strategies for you guys. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about what a life coach is, what they do, and some stats and facts about the profession. So basically, a life coach is they've always been around. But social media has definitely given them a new platform to stand on, and it's a stronger platform than they've ever had before. And it's because they kind of have this way of becoming a different kind of social media influencer. They are now social media influencers that are there for you. They will talk to you directly. It's not about them, it's about you. Even if they post a photo of themselves, it's to try to help you out. One of the examples I really love of this is Rachel Hollis, who we are going to talk about a lot on this podcast episode. She is basically the queen, the guru of one, social media, and two, life coaches. She is inspirational. She is absolutely wonderful on social media. I don't know her as a person, but I assume she's wonderful. And a really great example of this is how every morning when she goes to the gym, she will get on Instagram stories and talk about how you need to get out of bed, you need to move your body, and you should be going to the gym too. So although the videos of her, although she is recording her life, she is trying to talk to you, one specific person. She can have thousands of followers, but she is just talking to you as an individual. So this is sort of the way that life coaches work and they operate on social media, is they're there to be your supportive friend who you can never really talk to, but they're going to talk to you. They're going to give you helpful advice. They're going to help you out in some way or another, even if you never actually talk with them. Even if they never reply back to your comments or anything like that, they are there to help you. Now, there are some ways they can directly help you, and we're going to talk about that later. They do courses, some do packages, and some sell products and merchandise that you can buy and benefit from, hopefully benefit from. But basically, social media and the digital world has given these people a platform that they no longer have to go to your house to give you a pep talk. You no longer have to buy a ticket to their conference to be inspired. They can do it all from the comfort of their home. And who knows, I see Rachel Hollis, going to the gym every morning, but she could just go sit on the couch after that. I never actually see her in the gym. That's a lie. I see her in the gym all the time. But, okay, not my real gym, but online I see her in the gym. But the truth is that social media has given us this wall of protection for us to be able to inspire to want to be these people or to have similar levels of motivation in our lives. So the way they've done their social media marketing is really important and key to pay attention to if you want your audience to feel included in the same way. So some stats and facts about life coaches on social media and just life coaches in general. The average income for a life coach ranges from $27,000 to $73,000, with specialty coaches commanding greater than $100,000 yearly. The growth projection for life coaching industry is an estimated 6.7%, taking revenue to $1.34 billion by 2022. 92% of life coaches remain active in the field, suggesting solid opportunities for you if you want to go into that field. I am not saying you do, but people are pretty active in it. In North America, there are about 14,000 coaches who earn a sum of $707 million. The number of international coaches that were estimated by the International Coach Federation is currently 53,000, which was up from 47,000 in 2011. The U.S. estimated the market value for personal coaching was $955 million in 2015 and $1.2 billion in 2016, which is compared to the $700 million in 2011. 37% of American coaches are 46 to 55. Currently, there are more than 500 training certificate programs worldwide, and many of them will certify you if you simply just pay a fee. They don't require you to take a course. They don't require you to fill anything out. Basically, you can pay $20 and boom, you're a life coach. Congrats. Start making $20,000 a year. But here's the thing, guys. I just gave you all those facts about how much they make, how old they are, how active they are, how many of them there is. How many can you actively think about right now who are genuinely successful in their field? The truth is that the reason you can think of them is because of social media and how they market themselves. It has just become a huge industry because of the online platforms that they all secure. So what we're going to take a look at today is their strategies and how you can use those strategies in your own business. Your business could be a life coach. I hope there are some life coaches out there listening. If you're a life coach, write in the review what you thought of my estimation of all of them, what you really think of the company, what you think of the business, because I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. I don't know, or I didn't know much about it before doing this podcast, and it is definitely a very fascinating world out there. So if you have thoughts and comments about anything I said, please write it in the review down below or reach out through social media because I'll be tweeting about this subject all day long. Also, if you're not a life coach, you're going to benefit from this. Oh my gosh, now I sound like a life coach. You're going to benefit from this podcast. But no, seriously, you can benefit from this podcast too because these people have built multi-million-dollar companies just by using social media marketing and by connecting with an audience in a personal way. So next up, we are going to talk about the top 10 techniques that they've all used to create these million-dollar platforms and million-dollar companies. So definitely stay tuned for that because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakebush, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we are talking about life coaches. Now, I want to be so clear with that term and what that term means, because a lot of life coaches, especially back in the 80s and in the 90s and the early 2000s, a life coach would be personally assigned to you. You would sign up for their company, you would sign up for their idea, you would have weekly meetings with them, maybe daily meetings with them, and you guys would talk about ways to benefit your life. They would maybe help you start running again. They would help you find a job. They would help you stay on that diet. There were just such a wide variety of things a life coach could do personally with you. But now we're in this state, we're in this social media bubble where they no longer need to come to every single person's door to make their living. They can individually talk to every person across the entire country, even some of them internationally. They can talk to people because of social media and because of the way they present themselves on social media. If they were all about themselves, if they were only promoting their work, if they were only just going in for that cash grab, people would not feel the need to engage with them, and it would defeat the purpose of interacting with this life coach online. The social media idea behind it really is that instead of paying for their service, you're going to give them your attention for their YouTube videos, for their podcast, for their books, for their little Instagram story updates. You're going to give your time and attention to that rather than have them come to your house. And hopefully you will still benefit the same. I would really love to hear everybody's thoughts on life coaches as is right now before we get into all of it. Write it in the review down below or reach out through social media. Okay, everyone, so if you're a life coach, congrats. This podcast is perfect for you. If you're not a life coach, congrats. This podcast is perfect for you. I'm about to lay out 10 techniques that they use for their social media marketing that will totally work for any marketing you need, utilize, or any campaign you're maybe dreaming up. If you use these 10 techniques, they will absolutely help you, and you will hopefully see similar results as some of Tony Robbins or Jenna Kutcher. I'm trying not to use Rachel Hollis all the time, but she's a big one here, guys. If you don't know who she is, I recommend looking her up just so you can get some context, because she does her social media just so good. It's so good. All right, I'm going to stop talking about Rachel Hollis. Let's get into the techniques. So number 1, be authentic. And here's the thing. When I say be authentic, it's such a double-edged sword. Because say your true values is that you really like having a beer at the end of every day. And if you do, good for you. I highly recommend trying a hazy beer. They're delicious. But if you're talking to people who maybe deal with alcohol problems or addiction problems, then you're not going to want to talk about your daily beer. You're not going to want to talk about how you like to unwind at the end of the day by drinking your favorite IPA. You need to be authentic without being your full self, because it's the internet. I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you to put your best foot forward in an authentic way. So don't go on there being like, hey everyone, I run 5 kilometers every day if you don't. Tell them that you're trying. You are trying to get up every day and run, just like they are. This way they're able to connect with you on a personal level. You should be something they want to achieve, but you shouldn't be unachievable. So don't talk about your bad habits. Talk about your good habits and how you're sometimes bad at them. Number 2, continuous. You need to constantly be posting on social media. This is true for life coaches. This is true for any business owner. That continuous stream of content is going to ensure that your messaging and your branding and your company and your product are always top of mind for people. Maybe they log on at 9 a.m. and they briefly see your Instagram story, but then they log on at 12 p.m. for work and they see the post, or they see the Instagram TV thing, or they see a tweet from you. If you're consistently pushing out content, you're ensuring that no matter what they're doing during their day, no matter what activity might be distracting them, you're a part of it. You're continuously a part of people's lives. Number 3, be engaging. It is so incredibly important to talk directly to the person you are trying to address. Even if you're trying to address thousands of people, make it seem like you're only talking to one. because if you only talk to one, it's going to be so much more engaging for the thousands of people watching. They're going to feel entertained, and they're going to feel, oh, hey, this person really cares about me. That's great. They're going to feel loved and wanted and accepted. So just try to be engaging while still being authentic is really the main thing here. Number 4, multi-channel promotions. So if you're just on Instagram, time to kick it up a notch. Get on Facebook, get on TikTok, get on Tinder if you have to. I do not recommend getting on Tinder, actually. But get on all of the social media sites that possibly fit your brand and start cross-channel promoting. You can reuse content. You can designate one for customer support. You can designate one for sales promotions. But do that multi-channel marketing so that you're reaching the biggest audience possible. Number 5, expand that brand. So a lot of the life coaches we'll be talking about today, they aren't just life coaches anymore. You can go to their book signings, you can listen to their podcast, you can buy t-shirts with their names on it. They are just this like multi-million-dollar media company that just pushes so much content out that it is this whole brand. It is not just that they are a life coach. You can buy necklaces, you can buy hairspray even probably, and it's just sort of opening up this world that really wasn't open to life coaches before. This one's really big for life coaches because it would be so incredibly easy for you to just copy what everyone else is doing. You could go to Rachel Hollis's Instagram feed right now, screenshot it, and just do everything she does. But that's not going to work. It worked for her. It won't work for you. Everything needs to be personalized to your brand and to you. But it also needs to be personalized to your customer and to your audience. So it's definitely a bit of a line that you have to walk. But if you're authentic and you're being genuinely engaging, then it's not going to be a hard line to walk because you're going to find that your audience values the same things you do. So it'll be easy to personalize your brand that you are expanding. 7, trust. You need to trust in the process of marketing and that all of your hard work will not go to waste. If it takes you 15 minutes to put together that Instagram post, don't beat up yourself. Things are hard like that. It's going to be difficult. It is going to take time to get the hang of it. Don't compare your one post to the hundreds of posts that the big social media influencers and life coaches have done. You're not the same person. It is going to take time for you to build that relationship with an audience, for trust, because they've got to trust you too. Just like you've got to trust the process, they need to trust you. So start working on that relationship so that the trust will just fall into place. Number 8, knowledge. This is something that a lot of people take for granted when it comes to social media. They think, oh, it's easy. My 13-year-old daughter has 16,000 followers. Good, great for your 13-year-old daughter. That does not mean that your business of selling soap is going to work, Cheryl. You've got to work hard at this. Social media is not something that comes easy for everybody. So take time, learn how to do it properly. Listen to podcasts like the one you're currently listening to. In fact, everybody who's listening to this, pat yourself on the back because you're taking time to develop knowledge in a skill that you don't have right now. I do it all the time. There are so many times that I'm like, I need to learn more about how to create a better Instagram theme, how to take better photos with my phone. There are so many things that we all can improve on, and knowledge is something that we cannot take for granted. Because if we take it for granted, why would any of our audience members want to listen to us for our knowledge? Why would they want to appreciate what we have to say if we're not willing to listen to other people? Number 9, know your target demographic and stay within it. This is something that will be tricky at first, because at first when you're doing life coach work or when you are starting your business, if it's selling soap, if you're making t-shirts online and then selling them, you don't know who your audience is going to be immediately. You can have a target demographic that you want. Say you want your t-shirts to be sold to like grandfathers in their 80s and 90s. But then once you start selling them, you find that teenage girls really love wearing oversized shirts that says, best grandpa in the world. I'm calling it right now. That's going to be a fashion trend of 2020. I'm calling it. I think it's real. Anyways, so then you're going to have to change your target demographic to fit the new needs of your company. So when you're getting started, try just to measure your demographic. Take a look at who is buying your items, who is purchasing your product, who is engaging with you online. This way you're able to then start targeting them directly and stay within your target demographic. Now this could also change. Say that the trend right now is for young girls to wear best grandpa in the world sweatshirts, but in 10 years or 2 years or 2 months, it might not be, and your target demographic will switch again. So it's really important just to measure that and keep track of who your target demographic is and what they are looking for out of you. Number 10, push yourself. I want to say this without sounding like a self-help coach or a motivational speaker myself, because I'm aware I could, but push yourself in your social media marketing. That's what all these people did. Some of them were moms and some of them were dads who never thought that they would do anything else with their lives but the jobs that they were currently working. But they pushed themselves and they pushed the process and they pushed the boundaries of social media so that they were able to create this entire world and this entire platform for people to go and listen to and for people to engage with. So that is what you really need to do. You need to push yourself with your marketing and with your business. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take another break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to talk about some of the products that these life coaches, inspirational speakers, social media influencers, whatever you want to call them, have come up with to help expand their brand. So all of that and more on the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Are you a business owner? Someone interested in the latest news that might affect your business? Then check out the GSMC Business News Podcast, a show dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning business, technology, and the stock market. Get a head start on the day as we keep you updated on the latest goings-on Wall Street, money, jobs, and technology. The GSMC Business News Podcast has you covered.
Welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we are talking about life coaches who have sort of taken on the role of social media influencers. Back in the day, a life coach would simply show up at your door, you and her would, or you and him would talk for an hour, they would give you a plan for the week, you would meet back next week, they would check in on your progress, or in an extreme event, you would perhaps go to a conference, you would go see them speak, you would buy some sort of mentor package from them in the moment that would, give you the weekly classes, or they would give you a schedule or a book, something like that. But now, because of social media and the internet, they are able to connect with such a wider audience so that they don't have to go to everybody's home, to everybody's business. You can never meet this person, but in your mind and in their wallets, you are their audience and they are your life coach. So we are going to talk right now about how some of those life coaches, those social media life coaches, how they've actually benefited from their audiences and from their marketing, because the marketing is such a big part of this. Because they don't get paid for posting on social media. They get paid when you interact with their content. And this is some of the content they've created for you, the audience, to appreciate and to work with. Number 1, Rachel Hollis's Start Today Journal. So Rachel Hollis is a unique case because I picked out the Start Today Journal because that has been a piece of her merchandise and a piece of her brand for years now. But as of recently, they have opened up an entire shop for Rachel Hollis, which you can buy bracelets and water bottles and t-shirts and hats and workout clothes and headphones, just anything your little worker heart, hustler heart can manage. Rachel Hollis has found a way to design. You can even buy her exact wardrobe now. They have gone above and beyond creating a brand for her. But the Start Today journal really is what started that all, and for me, it's definitely the most self-help product that she sells. Not saying that the other products won't help you, but this is definitely one that matches her original brand of being a self-help coach, because say you were looking for some guidance, this would definitely help you on your way. So the Start Today journal you can buy for $20. A lot of them are a limited time offer, although recently she paired with Target and apparently you can buy them there. They also still are like $20 though. But basically it is a journal where every morning I think you start by writing out the top 5 things you're grateful for, and then you write the top 10 goals you want to achieve in your life. But the twist is that you write the goals as if they've already happened. Like I would write, the GSMC marketing podcast is the #1 podcast in Washington. And then I would write that every day and I would manifest it and I'd work hard towards that so that one day it came true. So it's really about manifesting your ideal goals and your ideal dreams and really just trying to target what you are trying to accomplish every day. And then at the end of the journal, you write the one thing you are going to focus on, because you wrote down 10 dreams or 10 goals. What is the one you are going to focus on today? What are you going to do with your life today that is going to get you closer to any of those 10 dreams? So one super great idea, because people will eat that up. It is a great way to market herself as someone who helps, someone who cares. But beyond that, this was a great way for her to cross-channel market, because she sold the actual merchandise of the Start Today journal. But then there's quite a few podcast episodes of her podcast, the Rise podcast, where she talks about how to use your Start Today journal. There are YouTube videos about it. She talks about it in her books. She sells them on her Hollis Coast site. She sells them at Target. This is just something that is one notebook, but has spiraled off all this different content for people to engage with. So I think the Start Today journal is just such a good example, especially for Rachel Hollis, because it shows what her reach is and what her audience wants from her. #2, Jenna Kutcher and her social media packages. So Jenna Kutcher is just one fan-freaking-tastic at social media. So although I'm talking about this as this is her marketing tool selling this, if you're looking to get some hot tips on social media marketing, perhaps consider taking one of these packages. I've never taken one, but I do know that Jenna Kutcher is unbelievable on social media, and she's been recommended to me by past managers in the past. Hi, Shannon, if you're listening, you recommended me to Jenna Kutcher, and she totally changed my life, because she just shows you how to do your social media better. It's so simple, it's so easy, but it is a package you have to buy for $300 or more. Now, obviously, these packages are thick. They've got info for days in them, but it's still $300 that you're paying to Jenna Kutcher for her to tell you things that she did with her social media that convinced you to pay $300 for those tips. So do you see how that cycle just sort of continues there? It's very interesting and very clever on Jenna Kutcher's part. #3, Andrea Owen, your Kick-Ass Life Mentorship Masterclass. So this is one that, takes the cake. I want to know what you guys think of this mentorship masterclass, because it cost $2,500, which is so much money. Guys, that is so much money when I think of what I could do with that money. But maybe this works for people. I don't want to knock people. If you want a really good mentorship program, I've never used this one, but it's $2,500, so I'm hoping you get something out of this. But this is really Andrea Owen's heart of her company. She's written books, she's done a little bit of merchandising, but this is the heart of the company, is you being able to buy into this mentorship masterclass, buy into her world of how she does marketing, how she runs her life, how she stays in shape, and all these things, keeps her life balanced. And if you're able to buy into that, you will pay the $2,500 to learn how she did that. So she has to use social media to convince you that the $2,500 for this mentorship program is worth it by showing and leading by example. #4, Makisha Booth Resources. So Makisha Booth is actually someone that I will recommend to anyone who wants to sort of bump up their business kit or learn how to start a blog, because these are relatively cheap resources. They're like $20 to $40 each, and there is a lot of really helpful information in there of just if you've never started a blog, if you've never posted on social media before, on a business account. These are just really great resources, and I'm just overall impressed, Makisha Booth, by your commitment to your social media and commitment to helping people work through their social media. It's super impressive, and I thought it was awesome. I was so glad to hear that. The last one we will talk about is Ashley Anderson, who is a remote career coaching. This costs $1,100, but it's a little bit more focused than the Kick-Ass Life Mentorship Masterclass by Andrea Owen, because this one is just for remote career workers. That is all that they do, is they help you find a job remotely. But it's, again, this thing of trust when it comes to these life coaches' monetization, because you need to trust that if you're investing over $1,000 in a product, it is actually going to help you. And how do they do that with their marketing is by leading by example. They're going to show you, hey, this worked for me, and look at how great my life is now. I still struggle, but when I struggle, I go back to these techniques. So it's a marketing ploy to make you believe that you should invest money in them because they invested money in themselves, and look at how great it turned out for them. So, evil or a good thing? I don't know, but I want to know what you think. So please write it in the review down below or reach out through social media, because I would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I am going to give you the top 15 tips that I found online about marketing from these life coaches specifically. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for a podcast that gives you all of the latest news from the world of finance? Then check out the GSMC Financial News Podcast. We'll delve into the ups and downs of the stock market, changes in the economy, and news from the world of real estate and technology. From breaking news on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or the overseas market, to updates on the bond market, if there's money to be made, we'll cover it on the GSMC Financial News Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we have been examining, picking apart, critiquing, and discovering new things about these life coaches that have presented themselves on social media as being helpful and authentic and knowledgeable, but perhaps they're not, or perhaps they totally are. We went over examples of the techniques that they use, and we talked about the merchandise that they sell and the products that they sell that will hopefully help you achieve similar results that they've achieved. But what I want to talk about now is the 15 different tips I found from these experts themselves on how they used marketing to push their business further. So number 1, use your photo everywhere. So although, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, you don't talk about yourself ever with life coaching. You talk about your product. But guess what? Your product is yourself. You're selling yourself to your audience. It's this weird line that you have to walk of you're not there to present yourself, but it's not like you can show photos of your audience. You can't do that. Instead, what you do is you show a photo of yourself living your best life, and you explain how you got there and why other people should listen to you. This works for your company because what you need to do is show photos of your product, your brand, your company everywhere. In the same way that when I log on to Jenna Kutcher's Instagram, I see photos of her beautiful blonde hair everywhere. When I log on to your t-shirt's Instagram, I want to see that t-shirt everywhere. But find different ways to do it. It's not like Jenna Kutcher just takes the same photo every day. No, you see her at the park, getting coffee, walking her dog. So I want to see your shirts on kids, grandparents, teenagers, dogs, whatever you do, whatever you make. Give me a new way to demonstrate your product every time I log on. I want to see your product, your photo, your company everywhere. Number 2, create a promo kit. So a promo kit or a press kit is super important if you're looking to build your business and expand your brand. Because this way, if a media company talks to you, and we'll talk about them later, or a newspaper, or you're asked to go to an event, you have this kit ready to go so that you can always just jump in your car and go to the event or jump on the phone and do an interview. So the ideal promo kit or the ideal media kit would include your elevator pitch, your 50-word summary, your 100-word summary, and your 150-word summary. I think that's called your 50, 100, and 150. Someone comment that below if I got that wrong, but I think you all know what I'm saying. Include images of your product, the best images you found. If you found that putting your product on a dog didn't look good, don't include that photo, but include the one of the 17-year-old girl wearing the best grandpa in the world shirt, because that's unique. People will like that. People will engage with it. You can also include sound bites, business cards, and any sort of marketing material you think might be helpful at an event or while talking to the press. Number 3, speak at your local service clubs or events. So this is really important for any business that is just getting started or for any life coach that is just getting started. So of course, when we listen to these tips, we're like, oh, that makes sense for a life coach. Of course they should speak at like local events. Why should I? Because your community is around you. Yes, we're talking about how you can build your community online, but the best place to start building it online is by talking to the people that are near you. Turn to your neighbor and say, hey, follow me on Instagram. But instead of just turning to your one neighbor, get your butt to a community barbecue and put up a little booth of your merchandise and then talk about how great it is in front of everybody. Attend local events. Try to get an area to speak at them so that you can truly advertise your product and add a bit of personalization to it. Number 4, join a networking group. This one's also really important, although you might be thinking, oh, okay, this sounds like a tip only for somebody who's a life coach. Not at all. Networking groups in your area are so essential to your business. Because say you meet someone at one of these networking events that is like, hey, you create sweaters for grandparents, but you found teenage girls really like them. Well, I create sweatpants for grandparents, and I found teenage boys really like them. So then you're able to cross-market together, maybe come up with some fun promotions together, or really just strategize about your marketing. Being an online marketer, working in social media, can feel so extremely lonely. Network with people so that you can take some of that bite away, because if you see that they're just people, it will remind you that you're also a person and it is okay to make mistakes and it is okay to be creative and have some fun. Number 5, create an advocate list. So for a life coach, this would be gathering people up who have said, I used the Start Today journal and it helped me run a marathon. And then Rachel Hollis will post that on her Instagram. For your business, this will come in the form of customer reviews. If someone says that they absolutely loved your cleaning products, post that on your Instagram. Post an interview of them talking about it. But first, what you need to do is create an entire list of people, your advocate list, of people who will vouch for you, people who will talk about your product, and then go through, just one day, pick an hour, go through the list, email all of them, call all of them, and ask every single person for the same thing. Say, you can either write a review again and allow me to post it on our social media for all time to come. I will do it all the time. 2, let's do an interview together so I can videotape you saying it. Or 3, maybe just send me a photo so that I can put it with your quote. This way you can put a face to that review. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words that will get lost in space and people will be like, oh, that's cool, but it was written 3 years ago. If you create content out of your reviews, you can reuse that for years to come. Number 6, give free or low-cost workshops. So again, this works for if you're a motivational speaker or a life coach. For you, as someone who runs a small business or a large business, this could come in the form of a giveaway or some sort of contest on social media that allows your audience to interact with your product and with you on their digital platforms. Number 7, make quote cards. Quote cards are kind of very similar to an advocate list, but basically you could also do this for what you think of your product. Say, I started the product because I really love my grandparents and I want them to have the best sweaters possible. Put that on a quote card, paste it all over events when you go to them, paste it all over your social media, and really just make a meal out of it. If it's a good quote, quote it hard. Number 8, create your own content. So again, going back to the Start Today journal, because this was just such a good example. She created a journal that she could then sell, that she then created a YouTube video on how to use. She then did a podcast episode on how to use it. She then got other people to use it and created an advocate list. She then made quote cards about it, and so on and so on. So find something of yours that you're able to generate content from. Maybe you do like a DIY, make your own grandpa sweater, and you get people to compete in a contest, and then you use the images from your contest on your social media and on your website and at events. This way you can build content from content. Number 9, publish a newsletter. If you're not publishing a newsletter, I would like to ask you, what are you doing? Newsletters are so easy to do and such a great marketing tool for someone who isn't a self-help coach, or if you are one, definitely use it because people want to hear from you, and hearing from you on a weekly basis is the best time to hear from you. Number 10, send a press release to the media. So this is a big one, and it's not really super big for life coaches, I think. I mean, I see the benefit of it for them, but I was very shocked to find it on the list of tips that I explored through researching these life coaches, because why would they need to reach out to local media? Why do they care about that? But it's all about exposure, it's all about reaching out to a larger audience, and it's all about networking with your community. So if you're a new business, or even if you're not, but you just haven't been talked about in a while, send a press release out to all the local media, even some of the big media companies, because they might just do a small story on you, but one small story could lead to 10 customers, that could lead to 20 customers, and so on and so on. Number 11, assist at other people's workshops. So again, this is about networking with your community. Find a place for yourself, even if you have to build that place, and then network and work and connect with people in your community so that you can get in on their audience and you can help each other out. Number 12, show, don't tell. This one's important for all business owners, I gotta say, because don't ever tell us that your product is great. Show us how great your product is. Simple and easy to remember. Number 13, donate for your services to charity and fundraisers. This is really important, and it's something that's often neglected when it comes to marketing, but people want to see that you're a person who has values and who cares about things. So find a fundraiser, find a charity that connects with your brand, that works with your brand. Again, if you sell sweaters to grandpas, maybe your charity should be something to do with the elderly, or to do with nursing homes, or maybe you volunteer at a nursing home. Do that, work with the community, and then make sure you do talk about it. As evil as that sounds, that's good content. Number 14, ask for client referrals. Again, super important so that you can create content, you can network with them, and you can just post that everywhere. And number 15, be quoted yourself. As soon as you see someone else quote something you said, reshare it. But to do that, you need to create those quote cards, you need to talk about your product more, and you basically need to do everything we talked about in today's podcast. But as soon as you see one person quote you in the media, copy it, save it, reuse it later. Content, baby, content. That is the number one most important thing when it comes to these life coaches, is that they know how to create content out of nothing. Okay, everyone, that is it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you drop them in the review down below. Thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.